Alright guys, what's up? Good morning. Happy March 3rd of 2024. Let's get into it. So for lack of a better term here, we're going to be talking about this manosphere topic that you've heard a lot of, male YouTubers, content creators talking about surrounding their frustrations and difficulties with dating American and Western women these days. The tides are turning, and a lot of traditional cis hetero males are not pleased. But what does that mean, on the LGBTQ plus side of things? Is there the same experience going on? I might not be the best person to ask, but we're going to jump into that topic, see where we go with it. But let's check in about this morning. So in the previous pilot / intro for the month of March, I don't know if I'm going to do every month like an intro, but last month in February we kind of did. I think I slacked a bit on the Black history. I did record about it on another podcast called Theory and Theology, and that one talks more about, conspiracy theories, religious theories, cult theories, all kinds of weird stuff, and just holidays in general, usually like holidays and time periods of different types of observance. Sometimes I'll talk about those and dive into those for the month if it's like a month thing, or like, talk about things like Hanukkah or whatever. So yeah, some of it's like Bible stuff. I'm not trying to convert anybody to any religion. It's just, I try to talk about things that I was raised with too, because I have a better base in it, and I kind of have like a history with certain content that I've consumed over decades of my life. So it's kind of easier to kind of branch off. So say, for example, if I were talking about Easter and Christianity, and then talking about like the different councils during early Christian church history of like how they decided what day to celebrate Easter, because technically Easter is not like a Bible holiday, like stuff like that, kind of going more into like history and thoughts about it, not so much like telling people where to go to church or whatever. Like I'm not interested in that. If people want to find that information, they will find it for themselves. It has nothing to do with me. I don't think I'm any authority on like religion, and I can't tell people what to believe or think. I have no problem with people believing whatever they want to believe, and so I'm not even going to try to promote any kind of religion. I just talk about it from time to time because I was raised in a religion, and then I don't really deal with it. And a lot of it does have some significance to being an LGBT person, but I know it's also a triggering and not so popular topic. On this podcast, people don't seem to want to listen to those types of episodes because it's probably triggering, or they think it's going to go in some direction that's like preachy, and so I just don't really post about it on here. But I did do like a Black History Month topic with like African religions over there. I didn't do a whole lot because it took a lot of research, so I didn't post a whole lot. I posted more during Kwanzaa, but you know, I'm trying. But over here, we're not gonna really talk about. I mean, Black History Month is over. We had a leap year extra day that I was not even aware of until like the week of the last week of February. And now we're in the month of March, and I've talked briefly about, you know, what are your goals for the month of March? It's a new month. You know, a lot of people set fitness goals. We did talk a little bit at the end or beginning of this year about, you know, the benefits, or, you know, do people set New Year's resolutions? I don't even remember if I talked about my New Year's resolutions on here, but, you know, I'm trying to continue towards my health goals. It doesn't necessarily mean only gym, but I'm trying, you know. Like, it takes me a while in the mornings. Like, this morning I woke up and I woke up too early. I wasn't feeling great. Like, I kind of had this negative mindset, and it kind of went away after a while. Like, I woke up at 5. I wasn't feeling great around 5, but then around 7 I got up again. I woke up again. I was still laying there, and I was like, I felt a little better around 7. And I was able to kind of get my mindset just laying there, just kind of like, okay, what do I actually want to do today? Like, and there was a part of me that I was kind of like debating with internally in my head. There was a part of me that was like, sleep in, you know, find some unhealthy food that's going to be a quick thing to eat. Like, we have these, oh man, they're terrible for you. These pies, you know, those old school pies that come in that like wax paper, but I think they're from Smart and Final, that First Street brand. They're like these little sugary pies. They're almost shaped like an empanada, but like a little bigger, and they're filled with just like not even real cherries. They're like syrupy candied cherries or something. I don't know if they're candied, but it's basically just sugar, and it's over 400 calories for one of those pies. And I did already eat one on like Friday, and this morning I was waking up and I was like, you know, it's high calories. I could just eat that for breakfast and not have to cook. And then I was like, yeah, that's a terrible idea, you know, because I was like, that's not going to give me enough nourishment or motivation. You know, it's going to make me less motivated knowing that I started out my week. My first meal of the new week was trash, you know, literally trash. Like, there's not any value. Like, what, the crust of the pie is, maybe it's healthy, but it's filled with sugar. It's not healthy. It's not like a fortified wheat or anything. There's no health benefit to that. And I already had one the other day when I shouldn't have had one. So to have two within like pretty much the same weekend, like, come on, not a good idea. This is how I was talking to myself. I wasn't trying to like put myself down, but I was like coaching myself through it. Like, dude, you know that this week you've got to get in 150 minutes worth of exercise. You know that this week you've got goals for your weight to not be like fluctuating too much. Why start early in the month and early in the week with the worst possible thing in the house to eat for breakfast? This is a terrible idea. The other side of me was like, okay, what could you cook this quick? Like, okay, boiled eggs. Boiled eggs, you're all you got to do is put them in the pan and water, and then come back and turn them off when they're done. Or you can do it like the real way, and, you know, wait till the water boils, come back, turn it off, and then keep them under the lid for 10 minutes. So either way, it's gonna take either 10 minutes or a little less than 20 minutes if I just boil them all the way through without coming back to turn off the pan. I could boil them for like 16 minutes, 17 minutes ish, and they'll be fully boiled. So either 10 minutes or 17 minutes for eggs. Organic, are they organic? I need to look at them again. They might not be organic. They might just be free range. But either way, 2 eggs, 70 calories each. And I didn't know we had avocados. So when I was boiling the eggs, I was like rummaging around and I was like, what else do I have? So I was gonna have boiled eggs and frozen green beans and toast. And I was like, that sounds terrible, right? But I was like, okay, green beans, I can just put them in the pan, while the eggs are boiling. And frozen green beans do not take that much to cook either. Just throw them in the pan and boil them. So I put maybe 3 cups worth of green beans in a little skillet with some water. It was basically boiling, but I put them in a skillet. Just put a little bit of salt and pepper. And then I saw the avocados. And then I saw these little hush puppies that my mom made that were kind of like, we kind of keep like breads and stuff like on the table, like covered so they don't get like stale. So I saw those and I was like, it's either toast or that kind of bread, the hush puppies. So I took 2 little hush puppies, put them in the oven, and then I was doing my multitasking, go in the bathroom, do my bathroom stuff, drink my coffee, needed the coffee while all this stuff was boiling in the oven. And then I saw that there was an avocado. I cut up an avocado, 1 avocado, and I was like, okay, so now, I'm saving the green beans for later, so now I have vegetables that are cooked already. All I gotta do is throw them in the microwave. We have chicken that's already made. We have some other leftovers. So whatever I'm eating, I've got green beans. We've got cabbage that's already been cooked as leftovers from some pot stickers we had the other day. We just didn't really get through all the cabbage. So I can have cabbage and green beans with some kind of meat. I mean, it's not the most appealing sounding thing, but when I thought of it, I'm like, okay, this is not pie. This is not snacks. This is like legit food. So with the breakfast, basically what I ended up having for breakfast was coffee, a couple boiled eggs, some sausages, turkey sausages. They're like those brown and serve sausages. No, they're not healthy, but whatever. I had a hot dog of God only knows what brand, like a turkey hot dog. I was like, let me get the protein, get my energy up. Those 2 little small hush puppies that were homemade, by the way, from the other day, and an avocado. And then I saw this container of kind of like a fruit salad, but I didn't really want fruit salad. I think we have chicken salad in there too. So, but fruit salad, I didn't really want fruit. There were bananas in there, but there were also peaches and mandarin oranges. Again, canned food, and the bananas probably weren't canned. Do they even have canned bananas? But basically, there were chopped up bananas put in there. So I was like, I don't want the bananas, but I took the other fruit. So I had a little bit of that fruit. So I'm like, okay, I did have some fruits. I had an avocado and some peaches and mandarin oranges and some eggs and some sausages. I think I had 3 of them. So 3 of them I think is 100 calories. And then the eggs are 70 calories each. So I probably made it almost to about that 400 calorie mark of a slightly healthier, it wasn't like super healthy. It wasn't like oats and berries or whatever, but it wasn't that bad of a breakfast compared to eating a pie. I was like, okay, at least I have some servings of like vegetables, protein, a lot of protein, because I'm like, I do want to exercise this morning. But I feel good about it. I feel better about it than that stupid pie idea. Like, you know, and it didn't really take me that long. It took me like, okay, it took me maybe 30 minutes because I started cooking around like 7:40, and I started eating around 8:10. And you know, I do have a little bit of a headache. I've had it all morning. It's probably a stupid PMS situation, but um, I feel good about the choice. I mean, it wasn't like the healthiest of healthy foods, you know, but it wasn't the worst. I mean, we've got some bison burgers that I can make later. We've got that chicken salad that's in there. We've got a bunch of green beans that I just cooked. So as far as meat and vegetables, I'm fine on that. I don't really need much more today, but like meat and vegetables for the most part. So I feel decent about it. And that is probably one of the biggest struggles of today, is waking up earlier when I wanted to sleep in, cooking food when I didn't feel like it. So I'm off to an okay start, you know. And I was like, I gotta get some podcast episodes in because I don't want to start slowing down on it, because I have some things on the agenda. So I guess that's my check-in. Early month, early in the week. Gonna see how far I get on this research with this topic. Now, I'm not gonna keep calling it manosphere. I gotta find another name. But we're basing it off of those manosphere topics. So what is this manosphere topic? The way I understand it is there are people that are incels, Incels. These people that are considered incels that have a hard time, these cis hetero men have a hard time finding dates with, you know, cis hetero females. They might be, I think somebody said they're involuntarily celibate and they aren't okay with, you know, the fact that, you know, what these guys are saying, what these guys are frustrated about is they're saying that cis hetero females choose taller men, so men that are over 5'6". They choose men with more money, and a lot of these incels tend to be a younger age, tend to live at home with their parents, and tend to not have work. And so they're not attractive to women that date men. That's kind of the general argument. I mean, there's a lot more depth to it, but the general argument is that, you know, there's a lot of men out there, cis-het men, that are very upset with this. There is this topic, I talked about it a bit ago, but I can't remember the term, where there's a lot of cis-het men, or a group, a subset of them that want to move to other countries, like East Asian cultures, where, you know, maybe like a Western male would be considered of value, and they want a woman who's traditional, kind of like a stay-at-home mom, or someone who follows traditional female gender roles, lets the man do the masculine cultural things, and the female does the cooking and the cleaning, and the male goes to work, and the male supports the female, and the male is the more educated one, and the male makes more money and brings home the bacon, and the female's happy to serve the male his food and keep the house in order. And there's a lot of men that want this. They're having a hard time finding cis-het females that aren't maybe competing with them. In the Western world, a lot of cis-het females are educated. They make their own money. So I feel like some of these cis-het guys are kind of feeling like, okay, well, what's our value if now these women are making money and they're calling the shots. Now it's like they're competing with these women, and they don't want to compete with them. You know, they want to have to be at the top of the competition so that they can provide and fulfill that masculine role. Dare I say, I don't know if this is it. I don't know if I'm reading this right, but it almost feels like to me, on one end, it might be like an ego thing. It might be an insecurity. On another end, it might be, is dysphoria even the right word? But I don't know, because I was kind of thinking about it just now. Like, I don't follow traditional gender roles. There's certain things that I'm way more comfortable doing than others. Certain things I'm way more comfortable wearing than others. I've got a wedding to go to in May. I'm not going to wear a dress. I don't want to wear a dress. You know, if someone asked me to be a bridesmaid and wear a dress, I would probably decline. For specific people, I wouldn't be comfortable around this certain setting wearing a dress. Now I know it's almost expected and unspoken that a woman who goes to a wedding is probably going to wear a dress, especially when you have certain traditional cultures. You could probably get away with wearing like business attire, like a business, you know, female business clothing with like slacks, shoes, you know, some kind of jacket, blouse, whatever you want to call it. I could probably get away with that. Something that's feminine looking on that end, or some kind of mask type suit, but kind of more feminine colors, or maybe fit to it that's maybe a little different. I don't know. I'm gonna play with it, but you know, I already know that certain things make me dysphoric. And if I were I remember I've talked about this before, being with a guy who, I don't remember if we were like dating at the time, a cishet guy. I don't know if he was maybe bi. He was bi actually, but I say cishet, but he wasn't. But I don't think he would tell people that he wasn't. He would tell people he's heterosexual. So that's a whole other. We're not going to get into that, but basically, we were at a setting where, you know, somebody in charge of like an event was like, you know, I need somebody to wash the dishes and somebody to dig out the sand out of the fire pit because we're gonna make a fire. And the previous people had filled the fire pit with sand to put out the fire, and so I was closest to the fire pit, so I dug out the shovel. I took the shovel and started digging out the fire pit, and this man that I was there with, we were there early, so there were two of us, and then the guy who was running the event, he was there, like unloading the van and everything, and we were there early. We were on time, but we were earlier than everybody else, so we were like, oh, we'll pitch in and help. And so I start digging out the fire pit, and this guy comes over to me, and he's kind of like, oh, let me do that. Why don't you go wash the dishes? And I'm just kind of like, I don't know if he's trying to be chivalrous, because he did used to carry, like when I had a guitar, you know, he used to carry my guitar while I had my backpack, and I didn't stop him from doing it. And so I kind of know that, you know, whenever I was carrying a lot of stuff, he would always try to help me carry stuff. And he was kind of chivalrous like that. But something about that bothered me. I was that kind kind of like go wash the dishes, I want to do the digging kind of thing. That was kind of like, okay, like I'm not incapable of doing this. I'm already doing it. I'm closer. You were already over there by the dishes. Why don't you wash the dishes? But I understand, as a man, he's trying to be helpful. But to me, I was a little put off by it. I mean, I never brought it up to him, I don't think, but I was kind of like, this isn't gonna fly with me, you know. I just didn't like the way that felt, and I was just like, So part of me can somewhat understand, just from an experience like that, part of me can somewhat understand, you know, if I mean, I'm not a cishet man. I can't really put myself in those shoes, not necessarily, but if I were, and especially in a public environment, it might be a little hard to be like, okay, I'm a cishet man with this cishet girlfriend, and my girlfriend's paying all the bills. My girlfriend has a better job than me. My girlfriend drives a cooler car, and I don't even have a car. And then there might be a power shift or something. Who knows? Because I know a lot of times in a lot of cultures, men can be taller, men can have more muscle mass, men can have a job that pays better, and more career opportunity, more competitive pay rates. But now that women have that access to the same education and same type of jobs, even though the pay is not always equal, but even though women might have the same opportunities, sometimes men are feeling uncomfortable with that because they're like, wait, my masculinity is tied up in this thing, in my career, in my money, in my car, in my, title, my status. But then I'm dating this woman that is doing better than me in all these other areas, looking more prestigious and, maybe wants more power in the relationship or wants more, what I say goes. I think it's making these guys feel insecure, but it's doing something to their sense of masculinity. And I don't know how to say it in a way that sounds like sensitive, or I just don't know. Because I'm a female, I identify as a female. And I am a female that enjoys, expressing certain masculine traits and hobbies and dress styles. But those things I'm not like doing like some completely masculine version of them. It's just not a completely feminine version of them. I guess I'd put it that way. Like, I'm female, I like femininity in myself, but I also like the masculinity in myself, and I don't like to do away with either side. So even something where some guy's like, oh, let me take the shovel, you go wash the dishes, is very like, I can see it as polite, but also it's like I'm able-bodied and I'm not, at that time I had no injuries or any reason why I couldn't do the work. I'm used to doing manual labor. It doesn't bother me. I don't feel helpless. I don't feel like he should do this because he's the man. Same with if I've had car trouble in the past. I don't feel like, oh, because there's a man, he needs to change my tire. It's like, if I'm already doing it, I'm gonna do it. If I'm at Home Depot looking for something for some kind of, hobby or project I'm working on, I don't need some man to come and try to carry, like a couple 2x4s out to my car. I can do it myself, like certain things are like, I understand the chivalrous, polite, respectful nature that men try to help with, but at the same time, sometimes I get offended because I'm like, well, I wasn't raised to be like this helpless princess that like, oh, I might get a splinter or I might get dirt, on me. Let some guy do it. It's like if I'm trying to do something, I like to do it. I don't care if it's heavy or if I have to sweat or get a little dirty doing it. It doesn't bother me. You know, there's certain stuff around the house that I don't prefer to do, but it's not because it's a men or women's task. It's just because, I like to do, I don't mind cleaning, but I kind of would rather organize furniture, organize stuff. I'm not really big into like scrubbing and cleaning of dirt and dust and stuff. That it's just, it's not because it's I don't identify it as feminine. Like it's a necessity to keep your stuff clean. You know, I'm not big on doing dishes and stuff like that. I just don't like it. It's not fun. It's one of those things. I'm like, I'd rather not. But I don't mind being in the garage and like having a dolly and like loading it up with like boxes and moving them, and like moving certain stuff around and like doing that kind of thing. I don't mind doing that kind of stuff. I really don't mind it. It kind of takes my mind off of things, you know. Part of me likes cooking and cleaning and stuff like that for that reason. It can be very like, you feel accomplished. You made those decisions to clean that way, and then you get some benefit out of it as well. Having a clean space is nice. Having, healthy food is nice. And when you did that yourself, it feels good. It's like, yeah, so I do like cooking and cleaning and things, but I think the thing that I don't like about it is a lot of times, like at the house where I live, there's other people around, and I like to just kind of, do these as mindful activities. But if I am doing dishes, or I am cleaning the floor, or I am sweeping in the garage, or moving boxes or whatever, there's always a family member that's going to come and talk to me and try to tell me, oh, there's this, or oh, there's that, or like try to interact. Like, I don't want to interact. And so that's another thing where it's like when I'm cleaning and I'm doing things, I'm trying to just focus on what I'm doing, do it as a mindful activity, and just kind of get into it. I like doing work. I like, I'm getting more into enjoying like cleaning and doing stuff like that. Because I noticed that it feels better when it's done. I've accomplished something. Things look nicer. Like I mentioned earlier with my check-in, if I'm cooking something, it feels good, just to cook food that's healthy versus eating some unhealthy crap. Because we have a lot of unhealthy crap. And then we also have stuff that, you can kind of make it healthier. So, there's a part of me that's like, okay, the cleaning is a necessity. Even if you're a man, you're going to have to clean your house. It doesn't look good when you have people over and your place is like, it can be embarrassing when it's like too messy. There's like a certain like, oh, I haven't done the laundry yet, or I've got like a stack of clothes like on my amp or something like that, where it's like, okay, some things are like, all right. And then there's like the certain kind of messy where it's like you have not cleaned for like probably over a month. And if somebody sees something like that, it's like, ooh, like, why haven't you cleaned? It either you're not organized lately, or maybe you're depressed. Like, it just doesn't give a good view to some other person. When they see that, people, it's kind of a sign that something's going wrong. Like, I don't know how to say it in a way that's like nicer, but I deal with that too. I'm not saying like other people that I never deal with that. Like, I'm not the cleanest, neatest person. If I invited people over right now, I need to dust. I need to put some stuff away. I need to clean my floor, like sweep. I need to do that at the least. But I kind of like to clean on my own time, with my own energy without other people interfering. But I can understand somewhat, of people who are like, when there's some kind of dysphoric experience, when somebody else is doing things that are kind of like, you feel like it's your role to do. Like, I remember one holiday way back, I think there was like one night or one day where I was like really excited, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna make these like lentils or whatever. And I start making it the next day, and then my mom comes over, and she wants to chop this or chop that, or like, and then I remember just leaving the kitchen because I was like frustrated, and I was like, you know what, clearly, like, I didn't say it, but I was like, clearly she wants to do this because it's a holiday meal, and she wants to cook it all because she cooks it all, usually. And I was kind of excited the night before to like help cook, and ever since then I never did, because I was just like, you know what, it's kind of her thing. She kind of likes to do it. It's her role, so I'll just let her do it. I'm not gonna step on anybody's toes. You can kind of see with the actions where it's like, okay, she's stepping it over here and stepping. It's like, okay, like I could do it myself, but it kind of got to a point where she kept stepping in so much that I was like, okay, at this point, you're the one who's doing it. I'm not even cooking. You're cooking. So I just kind of stepped back and was like, let her do her role. She's the mother. She wants to cook the holiday meal, all of it, every dish of it. So let me just let her cook it. And kind of the same with like, like my dad. Like, say, like we do like a Sabbath dinner or supper kind of thing. Like, so if he's in the house, after he's done with church, he'll go buy some kind of takeout, and then we'll eat it at home. Probably late afternoon, like around 1:30, 2 o'clock, we'll be eating. And he's the one who buys that. Or when we did used to go out to eat as a family more often, he would pay the bill. I mean, there's certain things I feel like these are his role. He wants to do it. If I were to pick up the check, he'd maybe be grateful or nice about it, but maybe not. He'd be like, this is my family. I'm the dad. I'm the one who wants to pay for this. So there is this kind of like stepping on people's toes with roles that even when it's not like a dating thing, even with just family dynamics, it's kind of there. So far I watched one episode where this guy, Mackin Murphy, he was talking to, I think this guy's YouTube channel is called Sisyphus. I don't even know what. I think it's SISSYPHUS, something like that. I'll link it below. One episode he was talking to a trans woman. The first one I saw, though, the guy who runs Sisyphus was talking to Mackin Murphy. And I came across Mackin Murphy from the guy I mentioned before in the previous episode, the black guy with the dreads, or locks. I guess you're supposed to say locks, not dreads. Sorry. But he was talking about the manosphere and these kind of topics about these incels these guys are having trouble. And the thing that he mentioned that I think kind of stuck out, what Mackin talked about, like he's a researcher with relationships and things, and so he's basing what he says not on like some bad experiences with women or some like bad experiences with women, or some kind of like getting too much into his ego or too like insecure. Um, he's basing it on collecting data and what the research shows, and he showed through his answers, he said that a lot of the incels, they do have, maybe they're shorter than 5'6", maybe they're living at home with no job, so living at home with no job, and shorter, and maybe physically not as attractive, and hygiene might not be as good. And so one thing he mentioned, he was like, people can wear shoes with lifts or boots to make them like, give them maybe like an inch or two, spike up their hair, so that works a little bit. He mentioned that some of these guys could get haircuts that kind of suit their face, and for people to stay groomed, shower, brush your teeth. He mentioned things like teeth whitening, proper fitting, clean, matching clothes. It doesn't even have to be like name brand, but clothes that are in good shape, that fit good, that are clean, don't have holes or stains and all kind of stuff. Just look like putting more effort into appearance. Brush your teeth maybe a little longer. Scrub under your arms maybe a little better. Wash a little bit longer. Comb your hair maybe a little bit. Take a little more attention to detail. He said that on average, when he was comparing like when people compared like cishet women and cishet men, saying that like women are more attractive than men, they say like on average, the average cishet woman takes about 30 minutes longer getting ready than the average cishet man. And so just that extra 30-minute effort, like even think about it as like cleaning your house. If you go through like in your bedroom and you just take a napkin or something and you walk one direction and you clean everything that's like a surface, and then you take another napkin and you walk the other direction and wipe the floor just like once, and then you take everything that's visibly out of place and you bundle it up and throw it in your closet, shut the door, and then you leave. I mean, on the surface it looks kind of clean, it's kind of kept up, but if somebody comes in your room and they take off their shoes and they're only wearing socks, their socks are probably still going to get a little dirty from your floor. They might, if they sit at your desk, they might get a little dust on them if you have like a dusty surface, because you only wiped it once, versus actual dusting, actual cleaning, actual scrubbing, actual like folding the clothes and putting them away. Or I have a drawer, and then it's like if I wore something maybe once, things like jackets, or like if I have like if I wore a t-shirt and I have like this long sleeve button down, that sometimes I'm like, I want some long sleeves on, but I'm not like I'm wearing it like just some sleeves over a t-shirt. I'm not buttoning it up or anything. I'm just wearing it on top, kind of almost like a jacket, and then I just take it off if it gets a little warm. And then maybe shorts that I wore to like, I don't know, shorts to like go to CVS or something, like, and I mean, like, you know what I mean? Just like, sometimes you just buy something or have something to just, that you wear, but you haven't like fully worn it, or like, sometimes I sit around my room with like a tank top, or I joke with friends and say it's like clothing optional, and I'm not like fully dressed, and I just put something on and then go, So sometimes I do that. Sometimes I'm like, I'm not really gonna, Like sometimes that's just how I am. I'm like not fully dressed, and then it's like maybe I'm going to the kitchen just to make lunch real quick. I'm not gonna go topless to the kitchen. I'm gonna just grab a t-shirt, put it on, grab some pants, put them on, go to the kitchen, whip up some food, and come back to my room, and maybe I'll eat it in my room or watch a movie or something, and then I'll go back and put the dishes away, and you know, that's all that I wore those clothes was within like an hour of time, and then maybe I'll just take them back off again. Maybe too much information, but you know, if I take something like that, I'm not just gonna throw it in the laundry. You know, it's like I barely wore it, you know, and it's just like house clothes, like stuff that you wouldn't really wear out, but you're wearing it because it's like, you know, um, you're wearing it because it's, you know, clothing. So you're not nude walking around the house, especially if you share with other people and they don't want to see that. You know, I don't think my mom wants to see me walking naked all over the house. Like, that doesn't sound like something she'd be comfortable with. It's not something I'd be comfortable with. So, I mean, just thinking about it on that level, it's like nobody's gonna, you know, nobody wants to, you know, think about think about certain things, or you know, make certain stuff, you know, like I don't know, I lost my train of thought, sorry, but like basically what I'm trying to say is, you know, I have a drawer for clothes like that I kind of barely wore, and those are the kind of clothes that I tend to kind of just have out. Like I was saying, I have clothes on top of my amp. Sometimes I'll have them at the end of my bed, and it's like, okay, I have a drawer, a bottom drawer, where I could just fold up those kind of clothes, the stuff that I wore like once, and just throw them in the bottom drawer. I mean, those aren't the clothes I wear when I go out. If I'm actually going out with someone, or if I'm actually going shopping or something, I'm not going to wear that kind of stuff. That kind of stuff stays in the bottom drawer. And then when I need something just casual for now, I'll take it out of the drawer. So I even have a place for this stuff. I've started keeping a space for the stuff that's just in the way, that's out and messy. Even though nobody's coming in here, like we don't have company, nobody's coming in my room. But it's kind of like, that's just kind of how I'm trying to like set things up, you know? And even the little effort when you're cleaning in the house or whatever, that goes a long way. And so when you think about things like, or people that are saying, okay, they're incels, they don't, you know, have attractive qualities, women are never gonna like them, you know, they do recommend that, you know, within someone's power, they can put a little more effort in and see if that helps. Just a little more effort. I mean, mental health is another thing that I think doesn't get accounted for, because a lot of times if people feel like down on themselves, or feel like other people feel bad about them, they're not gonna wanna you know, they're not gonna want to follow these types of problems. Like they're not gonna wanna you know, it's a cycle. It's kind of like the whole thing. When you're depressed, you don't make the best healthy decisions, and because you don't make the most healthy decisions, it's not going to help your depression. I'm not saying that's the only thing to consider with depression, but it's one thing to consider. Um, so I don't know. It's a lot to think about for sure. All right, guys. I'm running an errand mid-episode. I decided to go get some chapstick and a C4 so that I can cram in my workout this morning. All right, so let's head back home. But I didn't really finish my last talking point, so I guess what we could say is, when it comes to are we recording? I guess we're recording. When it comes to the LGBTQ plus population, does any of this stuff apply? I don't really know if, let's say, lesbians are looking for taller people. I would say that there is something to the attractiveness of, job, career choices, financial security, things like that, cleanliness. I do think, I wouldn't say men don't look for that, because it seems like gay men look for that too. So I just think in general, people like to see others having good qualities. And I don't want this to sound like I think that cis het men are like bad or gross or whatever. Like, there's gross in every type of group. There's people that could probably take better care in every type of group. And it's just, it's not to be superficial, but I think, in all honesty, one thing that gets kind of overlooked is something that we kind of touched on already, is like, someone who doesn't clean themselves, who doesn't wash themselves. Like, I talked to this one lady once who lived pretty far, but we were kind of talking online and by phone. And I remember she kind of mentioned, because she was just kind of like, hey, what are you up to? What are you doing? And I was like, oh, yeah, I was just getting some laundry done. And she was just like, you'd be surprised how many people don't wash their clothes. Like, that's really good. Like, she kind of said something positive about it. And I was just thinking, like, that's just the most basic thing, just doing laundry. It's not a big deal. Like, I didn't think it, I've never heard anybody, like, commend me or, like, say anything, like, positive about the fact of doing groceries, of doing laundry. And then I remember once way back, like, probably in my early 20s, somebody was talking about somebody, like, smelling bad or something, and I was like, oh, I hope I don't smell bad, and one of my friends was like, no, you always smell good, and because when I used to go, like, I used to have wrinkly clothes, and I was a little, like, insecure about it. So what I used to do, which is not very efficient for the environment, but I used to put a dryer sheet and throw my, like, a shirt or the pants or whatever I was going to wear in the laundry, even though it was clean already, but just to unwrinkle it. And then while I was taking a shower, I would put that stuff in the dryer. It would just be in the dryer. It was already cleaned, but, if I had maybe not folded my clothes on time or whatever, it would maybe be wrinkled. And so it would make the clothes smell good too, because I just had it with the dryer sheet in there. And so when I would go out with friends, I would do that. And so I was a little self-conscious because I'm a sweaty person, and I was like, oh man, but that was just like one simple thing that, like, and then somebody complimented me about, that I smelled nice. And I was like, that wasn't something I was aware of, that people noticed that I smell like dryer sheets, but it's like, I'd rather smell like a dryer sheet than like stinking. And then, because I wasn't wearing like dirty clothes, it was just, they weren't, if I didn't do anything to them, it wouldn't have been like a very appealing style to go out wearing the clothes as they were. And so that was my method of making some effort. And this was like a little bit after high school. Like I was kind of like, and maybe I did this in high school too, I don't remember now, but you know, I was like, okay, so I don't smell bad. And then later on, when somebody was like, okay, you do your laundry, you know, things like that. Now when people come over to the house, when people used to come over, like, yeah, we had a messy house. Like, you know, we have 5 people and we don't all clean on the same day. So even if somebody was cleaning up their mess, there'd be 4 other people's messes. You know, we have a house with a lot of stuff. I wouldn't say like hoarder pack rat kind of thing, but like we accumulate stuff that nobody, like newspapers that come in the mail. So there might be like on the kitchen table or on a chair in the kitchen, there might be like a chair or a table that has like a bunch of old mail or like sales newspapers on it or like stuff like that looks like a little like, okay, like you could have done a little better cleaning that up or whatever, or like, like somebody eventually cleans, but it's like we don't have like, okay, Sundays we clean or like we all clean as a family. It's kind of like whoever gets in the mood to clean just kind of cleans at random, and it doesn't matter if we're having company. Like when I was younger, I didn't care about the cleanliness of my house because we always had friends over, so I wasn't going to just clean the house because I was having friends over, because they would always people would just invite themselves or just hop in the car and come over. And so things like that. But I would say with LGBTQ plus populations in our community, I would say that, I don't think people are going to look past, that kind of effort, like cleanliness effort. Like when it comes to things like height or muscle mass or whatever, that's probably not maybe like the biggest of concern. Maybe even age isn't really the biggest of concern for, I don't know how many people, if it's some people, most people, a lot of people. But there are some rules that like LGBT people maybe don't follow as much. Like, I don't know if there's trans guys that are like, I need to date, if they date women, any kind of women, like they need the women to be like shorter than them. I know there are a lot of cis-het guys that prefer that, but do trans guys prefer that? I don't know if that's like a necessity for all of them. And there are things like that that's kind of like, you can see a lot of differences in the things that people will kind of like, dislike, prefer, have dysphoria around. But when people are trying to choose someone that they're interested in, there are things that are going to turn them off. I mean, if somebody smells bad, it's probably going to turn them off. If they don't look groomed, it's probably going to turn a person off, especially when you don't really know them that well. And then there's other qualities. If it seems like they're maybe lazy or not motivated, or if they've got some kind of depression that's leading to like hoarding or some kind of thing, or if their personality is just kind of like too rude. There's a lot of things that like could turn someone off. And one other thing that someone mentioned, and then this will be the last, the research mentioned, like when they was talking about the cis-het guys that were considered incels, like they were recommending for these guys to like work out more. And that is another thing, like physical fitness. So I don't really know. Like it's not bad or wrong, like it's not, I don't know what I'm trying to say. Like, I'm not saying people are superficial if they're looking for these things. Like, these are good things to look for. Because if you think about it, some stuff really is an indicator that there might be other problems. Like, like if you've ever gone into someone's bathroom and it's had like a mold issue, that's something that's kind of common. But if you've gone into if you've ever slept over at someone's house and you're like, they have probably never cleaned this tub, never cleaned the toilet, never cleaned the sink, and it's like you're almost like trying not to really touch anything, Like, that's not, like, you're usually not going to be, like, thrilled about that. It's not like, oh, yes, let me, like, put my feet in this nasty shower, in this nasty tub and, like, contract some kind of, like, fungus or something. Like, you're going to see it and be like, I don't really know, and it's not to judge those people, but it's kind of like for things to accumulate to that level, usually it takes, okay, if you don't clean for 1 week, there's still going to be signs of grime. If you don't clean for 2 weeks, there's usually going to be quite a bit of grime. Once you get to that third week, it's like there's noticeable, like, a ring around the toilet. The sink is definitely, there's residue on it. The shower floor, there's probably hair places, and, like, it's not just the let's rinse it off real quick. Like, you're gonna need to clean it, scrub it with some cleaner, by the third week. If you go past 3-4 weeks, 5-6 weeks, that's when you start seeing that, like, mold and, like, stains and stuff. It's like, if you think about, okay, this person hasn't cleaned their bathroom for like 5 weeks, and it's like, and then you think about, how am I gonna develop a life with this person, or, like, is this gonna become a problem? Like, that's just like, and if they know you're coming over and they didn't even make the effort to make it try to look nice, and they just let you come over with it looking like that, yes, it's vulnerable, but at the same time, it's like, it just, it shows something that's, I'm not saying people should be inauthentic about it if they're dealing with something, but it's a tough place to be, because it's like, you don't want to be like, oh, I'm only cleaning because somebody's coming over, and then leave the life in a mess all the time. But you also don't want to be like not cleaning and let people see that, and then that might be the difference between getting another date or having them back over. People aren't going to feel comfortable coming over if your place is really, like, messy is one thing, cluttered is one thing, depending on the clutter. But if it's just, like, dirty to a point where people don't feel comfortable taking off their shoes and walking on your floor because they're like, oh, my white socks are going to be destroyed. If you have, like, wet spots on your floor and stuff, and, like, droppings of animals and spider webs all over and stuff, like, it's kind of like, it takes weeks for a place to get in that kind of, you know in that kind of level. It takes weeks for that. And so to think, okay, this person, within 5 weeks or so, they're not even cleaning, you know and then if you think about a person's body, and you're like, do they even shower every day or every other day? I mean, some people, technically you don't really have to shower every single day, technically, but it's like, in American culture, you kind of do it. You don't really have to, but it's like, if you're working out and doing all kinds of, like, physical labor, you probably should wash if you're sweating. I could understand if you're just laying in bed on a Saturday and watching Netflix, and then the next day on Sunday you're just, like, on your computer at your desk or whatever for most of the day. It's like, yeah, you're still gonna get grimy and oily, and stuff needs to be cleaned because your body has fluids and oils and stuff. But you might not be in as bad of a shape as if you went to the gym on Saturday and ran, like, a mile, then went to the sauna, and then didn't shower, and then came back and, like, jumped in the ocean on Sunday, and got a little swim in, and went to the beach and had your feet in the dirty sand and stuff, and then you come home and don't shower after 2 days of that. Like, that would be just, like, you gotta take care of that, like, and some people wouldn't, and that's what I'm saying. Like, there's a level, I think, of mess that I think some people are willing to just be like, okay, there's a little mess, like, we can look past this. And then there's another level that's like, whoa, like, I wasn't expecting you to have this, it's a little shocking. And then there's another level that's, like, so unclean that you're like, I don't even know if I want to eat off of this person's dishes, and you're almost kind of like, hey, let's go out, let's, like, not hang out in your dirty, moldy, spiderweb, dusty, grimy house. I feel like it's almost like a health hazard, and it's just,
I'm not trying to like look down on people. I mean, I've been in places where it's like I've had people over where my place was just wrecked, and I'm just like, this is me for now. It's not always me, but it's like I've been in times where I was like I had someone maybe over that needed to change real quick, and it was like really embarrassing, and I was just like, well, either I tell my friend they can't come over and change in my room, or they're gonna see my mess. And at least they had positive things to say, because they were like, oh, you snowboard, and like I like your yoga mat and stuff, and like they were into the sports stuff. But I was kind of like, dude, that's embarrassing that like my place is just like that. And they were kind of understanding. They were like, oh yeah, I can tell like you probably aren't living like ideally where you want to be and stuff. And I was like, yeah, but it was our time, and I was just like, it was a mess, but it was kind of like a stuff mess. Like the stuff wasn't put away nicely. It wasn't like grime and dirt and like spilled like old food and stuff like that. It was just like I wasn't expecting anyone to come in my room, therefore I didn't clean it. And so I had like an embarrassing moment about it, but I mean, it's not a good look, and I wasn't trying to date this person anyways, but I'm glad that maybe they didn't tell anybody, because that's not a good look. Um, but, you know, you want to try to impress people, like, not in a shallow way, but, like, you want to get yourself together enough to a point that you feel like somebody's not going to be throwing up red flags because of the grime or the dirt, or, like, stuff that you can take care of. Like, brush your teeth so that there's no thing like staining it. At least, like, you don't even have to do the teeth whitening, but brush them enough that they look like you brushed them completely. Like, some people see details. Cut your nails so that they look like you groomed them within the last week or so. Like, maybe your nails grow fast, but you don't want to have like long dirty nails. Is just, I don't know, that's something that it kind of grosses me out. But you know, there's things like that where it's like, wash your face so you don't have like cruddy stuff on your face. Make sure your clothes aren't wrinkled. Make sure you're not stinking. I mean, even if you are a sweaty person, you don't want to smell bad. Wear the cleanest thing that you have. Take care to kind of like make the effort. You don't even have, it's not even like I need to go get a new haircut or need to go get like a professional shave or spend all this money. Like, just take the time to do it. Like, maybe put some gel in your hair and like comb it through a couple times and make sure it stays, and like, or whatever you're going to do to your hair, like make sure your hair is kind of like looking fine. Make sure your clothes, do like a full mirror check, make sure you don't have like your shirt tucked into your underwear, or like your pant leg tucked into your socks, or like if it's not the style you're going for, like make sure you look like you meant to walk out the door like that. Like, I remember once, like, we used to have these dryer sheets, and some of my pants were like cargo pants with those like I still have pants like this that have like the Velcro pockets. Make sure you don't have like a dryer sheet or like a weird like some panties or underwear or socks stuck to your Velcro. Like, weird little things that are like, yeah, it's funny, haha. But it's like, some people are going to be like, did you know that you were leaving the house looking like this? And it might be embarrassing to them if they're introducing you to their friends, your shirt's like inside out or whatever. And it's like, you just do a once over, get ready early. That's one thing I've learned. I like to get ready right before I leave. That's what I would prefer, but then it's like I'm always running shorter on time. I've learned, get ready early, maybe like an hour before you would probably usually get ready, so that you have plenty more time, so that if you're going like maybe 20 minutes before you need to walk out the door, now you're like looking over yourself a little bit. You don't even have to take the whole 20 minutes, but at least you're not like, okay, 20 minutes, jump in the shower and like comb my hair and do all this stuff, and then you might easily miss some stuff. Like, start early getting ready. And that's another sign that you're like exhausted. If you're like, I want to wait to the last minute to do everything, to get ready. I want to wait to the last minute and not clean and have people over. And like, if you don't have the energy to clean and you don't have the energy to, clean yourself and clean your space, something else is going on there. And I'm not saying people shouldn't date when they're like that, but it's like other people might notice that you've got something going on emotionally or stress wise, or just your energy's not where it needs to be. People want to meet you and they probably want to have fun. They're not trying to like worry about like your mental state and being like, oh, like I've seen some signs that this person doesn't really take care of themselves. You don't have to have everything clean and sparkling, but it's like at least make some effort. Things are gonna get messy and you're not gonna have time to clean and you're gonna have stuff all over your car, but you don't want that to be the first thing they see is like when you give them a ride in your car, you've got to like take arm loads full of stuff, of junk, and just like throwing like empty bottles and fast food bags and stuff and like trying to like stow it away while they're watching you with your messy stuff. It's like throw that stuff away before you go pick them up. It's like things like that where I'm just like, I'm not trying to sound like a jerk, because I mean I've been in all those situations where people have seen my dirty things and I'm just like, whoa, like maybe I should have like taken care of that first, or I was too tired so I didn't do it, and so I slacked on it, or my mood hasn't been in a place where I had the energy to really deal with it, so I just avoided it and rested instead, or whatever I did instead that felt happier than cleaning. And so I've been avoiding it, and people are going to notice that, and that's okay because it's normal. But it's like you can't expect, if that's how you live your life, you can't expect that everybody's going to want to jump on that bandwagon, and sign up for a relationship with somebody who has those things not really squared away early on, because things are gonna get bad and messy anyway. So if you think about it, it's like you're gonna get busy, you're gonna have times where you haven't washed your car for a bit, you're gonna have times where you haven't cleaned out the inside of the car, you're gonna have times where the laundry stacks up. So you don't want that to be the first impression. Like maybe once somebody gets to know you, then you can be like, oh, just I haven't cleaned my car in a bit, like sorry. But it's like at least when they usually would see your car or usually would see your bedroom, it was usually clean. Like you usually had clean stuff on, but it's just like, oh, today I'm like, I need to do my laundry, you know. And so it's like, okay, you can have it every once in a while, but I do think it's worth kind of trying to see yourself through someone else's eyes. Don't shame yourself, but try to see yourself through someone else's eyes, because sometimes it's like it's very eye-opening, to try to see what other people might be seeing, and I don't know if that's a particularly LGBT perspective. Some of it is, but we'll get back into this. If you guys gravitate towards these topics, we'll get back into it. If not, if you guys aren't into it, then we're just not gonna go down this route, or I might just study it on my own and bring it up at random. But this is kind of what I'm looking at lately. I gotta get a workout in. I just went and got some C4, and I gotta get some work done on my computer, and that's it for now.